Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trade Australia. I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffelsz. Today's episode's all around South America or Latin America. We're looking to give you some advice and tap into some experts about how we can actually get the most out of this amazing market for here in Australia as well for bilateral trade and investment. So we're going to kick off with our first guest all the way from Colombia via Zoom, obviously, unfortunately, is Craig Dempsey, who's the co-founder and managing director of Biz Latin Hub, a really great firm over there on the ground who can help companies really penetrate the whole range of countries through the Latin market. So stick around. After this quick break, we're going to go straight in and talk to Craig about all the exciting things happening across Latin America. See you soon. Hi, Craig. Thanks for joining us. Craig, I'd love to get your thoughts and expertise on how the market and synergies between LATAM and Australia, but also just before we kick into that, tell us a bit about your business, why you found it with Biz Latin Hub.
Yeah, look, first up, thanks very much for having me. It's much appreciated. As you can probably know from my background being quite dark, I'm actually here in Latin America, in Bogota, in Colombia. I founded the Biz Latin Hub Group in 2014 with a business partner. And effectively, since then, we've managed to grow the business to having a presence in pretty much every major economy across Latin America and a small presence in Australia. Primarily, we work with foreign companies to establish themselves and do business in the region. So we've been fortunate that we've continued to grow. And it's obviously had the opportunity to get on and have a chat with yourself today.
Thanks so much, Craig. Yeah, what are your sort of views on the opportunities between the two markets, between Latin America and Australia?
Sure. Look, I think the first thing to understand is the context. Latin America, it has a population of 700 million spread across 33 countries. Putting that in comparison to Australia, 25 million in one country. So just looking in that context, obviously from a language point of view, we have English in Australia, primarily across Latin America, it's in Spanish and Portuguese. But what's interesting is the top sectors between the jurisdictions, being agriculture, natural resources, manufacturing, and finance, are actually quite similar between the regions themselves. So that presents itself, there's a high potential for interchange of expertise and also import-export operations between the jurisdictions.
Wonderful, great. And what's the how's the Australian presence in Latin America? Is it very small, or is it growing rapidly? What are your thoughts there, Craig?
Look, it's actually quite broad, interestingly enough. Look, the mining sector itself is primarily centered around Peru, Chile, Argentina, and to a lesser extent, Colombia. So you can think companies like BHP, South 32, and conversely, you've got those mining support companies such as Sedgman, Ausenco, etc. From the education side, I'm sure you probably would be familiar with. There's quite a lot of Latin students studying in Australia these days, in University of Queensland, Newcastle, etc. And most of them are coming from Colombia and Brazil. And of course, you've got the education support sectors. A company, for example, from Australia out of Sydney is NextPay, which is involved with the money transfer for students to be allowed to pay their fees in Australia. Infrastructure, Macquarie Group has a massive presence over here, particularly in Mexico and Colombia. And what are some other areas slightly more interesting, a little bit out there? You've got the World Mosquito Foundation, which is actually based out of Melbourne. And since then, they actually set up an office in Panama, in the City of Knowledge. And they're basically there trying to eradicate dengue. You've got Pivotal, which is involved in satellite communications. And look, not to forget the other way around, look, you've got Latin American companies operating in Australia. You've got JBS from Brazil operating in meat processing, Vale and Pamex operating in natural resources. So there's quite a lot, and it does vary between those sectors. But the common theme, it sort of does sit around those top four sectors I mentioned earlier.
Wow, that's thanks, Craig. I think it's, even for someone like me who's been involved with trade for so long, it's surprising to see the diversity of those sectors and industries. So it's really great. And following on from that, where do you see the future of the trade between the two regions sort of growing? What are the sort of opportunity sectors or growth sectors?
Sure. Look, obviously, any sort of trade, in most cases, underpinned by your different trade agreements, etc. And similarly, between Australia and Latin America, there's an agreement between Peru and Australia, Chile, Australia, and of course, you've got the Trans-Pacific Partnership, etc. So those things help to underpin those agreements, and there's other ones in place. But, what does that noble opportunities it presents? Look, education is a massive one. It is the number one business connection as well as cultural connection between the two regions. As I mentioned before, there's a significant number of Colombians and Brazilians studying in Australia. Obviously, there's quite significant education institutions in Australia. But what has that meant? With that migration of a lot of people from Latin America and Australia, those Latinos in Australia have then looked at what business opportunities there are to import products from Latin America. So you have pisco from Peru, you have arepas from Colombia, mezcal from Mexico, etc. So you see, particularly in the food and drink space, because it's linked to that cultural connection between that migration. Another one, what we're seeing more and more, this is pretty much historically how it started, was Australian companies looking at the inefficiencies in the marketplace in Latin America. Realistically, anything that improves productivity, safety, customer experience is going to ensure you're successful in the region here. Obviously the success story out of Australia is the mining services companies, often called nets, operating within the region have been quite successful. And of course, at the end of the day, you've got a large and expanding, consumer market here in Latin America. There's a growing middle class. Another success story, ProGlut, which is an Australian family-owned company, is exporting their probiotics over here to Colombia, and also I believe in Brazil and some other parts as well. So there's quite a lot of opportunity there with the import-export. And of course, aside from all that, it's the human talent point of view. Obviously, a lot of the Latinos studying in Australia, conversely, they return back here, etc. So maintain those connections.
Wonderful. That's great. And, with so many great opportunities, there must be some sort of risks and things that companies from Australia need to be aware of, or even South American companies coming to Australia. What are the potential risks between doing business between both markets?
Sure. Look, a couple of quick ones. Sovereign risk is obviously, something there. For those that are familiar with the region, inequality is still a concern in the region, as what you're finding more and more is governments are being elected on platforms to reduce that inequality. Sometimes a byproduct is some of those policies being implemented are perhaps not so business friendly or slightly protectionist. So it's something that needs to be aware of and managed. Currency risk, of course, different between the different jurisdictions, and more complexities rather than risks. Culture is one. The reality is in Latin America, business is more done based on relationships. Perhaps in Australia, it's a little bit more based on a bit more clinical, based on goods and services, etc. Language. Latin America predominantly operates in English and Portuguese and Spanish, Australia, English. A simple little example that came up recently, if you translate food poisoning from Spanish to English, it translates across the word intoxicated. Oh, wow. Obviously, in English, intoxicated means drunk. So two people are having a conversation about food poisoning. One thinks one has food poisoning, one thinks they're drunk. A simple, small thing that came up recently. And it's just those little things that you do need to understand. And of course, you've got the legal frameworks. Australia operates in common law, similar to the Caribbean, which trace their history back to the UK, but most of Latin America, with historically back to Portugal and Spain, operates under Napoleonic law. So there is that complexity to manage, but all combined, whilst there's complexities and areas to manage, it still presents opportunities.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's a great example, especially you think about the Australian sort of culture of drinking and so forth. That intoxicated one's a really great example in point. So
it is, and look, it definitely comes up occasionally, and there's quite a few of them. And even between, Latin America's 33 countries, or Latin America, Caribbean's 33 countries with 700 million people. Even different countries speak different words within, the Spanish language, etc. The same as, Australians and Canadians, for example.
Yeah, wonderful. So, Craig, it's so great to have you on the show, and being over there on the ground, nothing beats that sort of expertise and advice that you can provide Australian companies who may be watching the episode and want to reach out to get in touch with you at Biz Latin Hub. What are the sort of final tips and advice you'd like to give some of the viewers about, what they should start, where they should start? Obviously, reaching out to yourself and your entity is great. What other tips and advice would you suggest, Craig?
Sure. Look, it is important, and the reality is there is an opportunity to take advantage of it in both directions. And the first thing I would say is, look, take the time to understand the market. To understand Australia, obviously there's difference between the states, but even more so in Latin America between the different countries, etc. So take the opportunity to understand the market and what you're looking for. The second thing I'd say, look, work with professionals, whether it's a company like mine at BizLatin Hub or somebody else. The reality is leverage that expertise so you can reduce your risk of operating, and have clear aims and expectations. And if you do that, I think, combined, you'll be setting yourself up for success. There is the opportunity there. It's just a matter of, understanding it and taking advantage of it.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Craig. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I look forward to keeping in touch. And as we start to move through the getting out of the pandemic around the world, I'd love to have some more opportunities to chat with you about how some of these sectors are growing. So look forward to getting you back in the coming months.
No, excellent. Look, thanks very much for having me, and I'm always available and always keen to talk.
Thanks, Craig. You've just heard from Craig Dempsey, who's the co-founder and managing director of BizLatin Hub. He's there on the ground. He's got an amazing wealth of practical and strategic experience that you can tap into if you want to do business between Latin America and Australia. So get in touch. Coming up after these quick industry updates, we'll be back with a person in the studio here talking about their experience between bringing product in from South America into Australia themselves. Stick around. We'll see you very soon. Ta. Hi everyone. International trade and global business has never been more challenging. Over the last 12 to 24 months, we've had challenges from every direction, whether it's a Suez Canal blockage, port disruptions, congestion, container shortages. We've even had a pandemic to deal with. How do you navigate an international trade business or global supply chain without staying up to date? Join us at importexporttv.com. We've got industry experts from every aspect of supply chain and every market. We can help you navigate through these challenging times. We look forward to helping you grow your business faster and smarter on importexporttv.com. Welcome back. Now I'm joined in studio with Andri Ospina. She's the exclusive Australian distributor for Ole Kapela. Hi Andri, great to see you again.
Hi Lawrence, good to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. So tell us about Ole Kapela. What are they? What makes them so special? And let's have a kick off with the products.
Ole Kapela are hair products made from plants and fruits. They are made from 100% natural extract. The product has a delicious smell. It's made like a fruit and is really good for the hair care. It's like I said, it's natural products.
Yeah.
It's free of sulfates, free of parabens, free of salts, and that helps to maintain and recover the hair care.
Yeah, I've had a smell. They smell amazing, and they're cruelty-free as well. You mentioned before the show.
Yes, it's cruelty-free. Is something good because it's not tested in animals.
Yep.
Not tested on animals.
Wonderful. And when we were talking earlier, I looked at some of the ingredients, Andri. You said that there's some that are even made out of onions, but they smell beautiful, like mangoes and other things. So, it's a really amazing product. So, tell us, you're the Australian exclusive distributor here. Are the products available in other markets around the world?
Yes, the products are available in USA, Costa Rica, and Spain.
Wow.
As well. Yes, the brand is expanding really quickly because this brand start to produce like the brand 1 year ago.
Wow, so just over a year and it's really growing that quickly.
Yes, it's really quickly. It's because the products are high quality and are really good for the hair.
Yeah. Well, your hair looks fabulous. So are you using the products, I'm guessing, yourself? And what makes you so excited about bringing those products here to Australia?
I decided to bring these products to Australia because when I came here, I had many problems with my hair because the water is different to the water in my country, and they cause many problems. And I started using these products, and these products help to recover my hair. And I decided to bring them to Australian market because I know they are high quality products, and I think Australian people or Australian market are going to love them.
So Andri, you've come to Australia relatively recently, and what's been the biggest challenges so far about setting up an import business here in Australia for yourself?
The great challenge is the distance. To bring the products to Australia, the products travel long distance and they suffer minor scratch in this process. Also, the freight rates are expensive, are really high. If we decide to bring them by sea, the freight rates are cheaper, but the products spend almost 3 months to arrive.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're right, Undery. There's so many expenses now with such a peak shipping period. There's a shipping crisis. Air freight rates are high, shipping rates are high, and vessels are really being delayed. So it's been a bit of a challenge there. How do you plan to market and distribute the products around the country? Have you got retailers? Are you going online? What's your ideas behind the plan?
Okay. To start is an e-commerce business, and we are going to sell through our website and Instagram and Facebook platform. In the future, the idea is to have some distributors in the different cities of Australia.
Yep, in different states you'll have setups.
Yeah.
Yep. Correct. Okay. So with those in mind, obviously it's a brand new product growing, really quickly around the world.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way the viewers can actually get some products and order them online? What are the best websites to go to? And you mentioned Instagram and other places. Do you remember? Can we tell the audience the links that they should look at?
Okay, the webpage is olecapilar.com.au. Also in Instagram, you can find us like olecapilar_Australia.
Fantastic, great. Well, it's great to see you again, and the hair's looking amazing. So I'm sure the products are doing really well. I have to use them myself to stop them sticking up everywhere. But no, it's great to be on today's show about all around business trade opportunities between South America and Australia, and you're a real life example of how great it is to do business between those two markets.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Undery. Okay, so you've heard from Undery Ospina, who, as you just heard, is setting up her own import business for these fantastic products. They smell gorgeous, so check them out. Have a look at the website, follow her on Instagram, and you definitely won't be disappointed. So stick around after the break. We've got another expert on South American market and the education sector. So we'll see you very soon after this break.
Now is the time to reduce costs and get better service from your logistics partners. We go to market for you. We do all the work, you make all the decisions. First, we review your requirements, customized to your business. Then, we design your tender documents, RFQ and submission templates. Next, we put it out to market, to suitable service providers only. We analyse and score the submissions using a weighted scorecard. We shortlist the best candidates, specifically matched to your needs. We invite presentations from the candidates. They compete for your business. You select and enjoy the benefits, including KPIs and SLAs. We offer fixed price programs starting from as little as $5,000. When did you last compare your service providers? Contact us today at the Australian Trade and Logistics Corporation.
Welcome back, everyone. Now we're joined from South Australia by some great guys, Johan Bernal, who's the co-founder and marketing manager at Growth Study Australia, as well as the marketing director, Juan Oviedo, also from Growth Study Australia. So thanks, guys, for joining me. Really great to have you on the show.
Hello, Lawrence. How are you?
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure. Great to have you both on the show. So, guys, I mean, this whole episode's around South America and Australia trade and investment, and both of you are really supporting that growth, being with all the students that you're supporting coming into Australia from South America. So, tell me though, first off, what are the challenges about setting up or having a business in Australia?
So, look, the challenges, like being South American, English as a second language, I believe that's the first challenge, like you need to learn English, first of all, so you can, start conversations with, business owners, partners or potential partners, potential clients. So I believe this is the biggest challenge, like being, like English, the second language. But apart from that, I'd say, like in general, as a business, the biggest challenge is to have clients, to structure, to get clients, especially during these pandemic times, which is a bit complicated to get clients. But yeah, that's I believe the biggest challenges of all.
Yeah, well, also because we had to understand like how everything works here, like a tax, government, the authorities. So when you want to create a business here, you need to understand those sort of things because we understand like how the things work back home, but here that's something that is really challenging. So
yeah, it's a bit of Australia's got a whole range of tax requirements and legislative requirements. So you're right, it's a bit difficult to navigate. And you mentioned just now as well about the COVID situation. I mean, obviously you guys specialize in international education. Now we all know how tough that sector's been. So, tell us, how's that been affected for your business in the last 18 months or so?
Well, if you see the whole picture, if we see 2019, which was the year before everything started, Australia had approximately 750,000 students, international students in Australia. If you see the numbers right now, that number dropped like 200,000 students. So that's a huge impact. Like we focus on Latin American market, especially Colombia. So that number dropped around 6,000 students, which for us is a huge impact. So not having the borders open, it's complicated to get students, people are confused because somehow Australia has not been clear with the opening of the borders. So a lot of people are just waiting. People are deciding to go to Canada, to other countries where they are actually receiving students, Malta, for example, UK. But hopefully with the new roadmap released recently, we see the light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah. So we growth study started right before COVID came up, right? So we had a big expectations about business because we have ourselves around 8 years of experience working the industry. So we know everything related to it. So we were okay, we are going to smash it because we know the industry, we have got the knowledge, the contacts, and then this unexpected thing came up, which is COVID. And then, so it was really challenging. But now, our expectations are for 2022, which is going to be I believe a great year for everyone.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about that. So you mentioned that this new roadmap, it's been announced, and you're right. That so many other countries now have taken the opportunity while Australia's been closed off to really capture that international student market. And all these other countries are really taking that opportunity as quickly as possible. But now that there's a roadmap, the plan is, I'm sure, is to have all the international students back into Australia as early as possible next year, in time for the first semester. So, what are your expectations? Do you see that sort of growing quite rapidly? Do you see a big surge coming back in?
Well, yeah, definitely. I see that as soon as Australia opens the borders, fully open the borders, we will see, we personally can see that a lot of people are asking right now. So we see a number of increasing students reaching out, They are actually now willing to start the process, to pay money, because all of the things that are happening. So we believe that the second semester is going to be very interesting for the education industry in Australia.
Yeah, and also like Australia is one of the destinations, like one of the favorite destinations for Latin Americans, being honest. So of course, there are like so many people waiting to come here to live the experience, learn language. And Australia is not only like an study experience, it's also a touristic experience. We are really close. So, like so many amazing places within Australia and also around Australia. So, like we have like a Southeast Asia around. And yeah, it's really attractive for Latin Americans. So yeah, next year, our expectations are really high. And of course, it's going to get done.
And I know you both specialize, from the whole LATAM region, but especially with Colombia. What are the sort of industries you think that are growing for the students? What are they? I mean, yes, you talk about the lifestyle, the tourism, and all the great stuff that the South Americans really enjoy but here in Australia. But from an industry point of view or sectors, do you see any trends or patterns, guys?
Yeah, like you mean in terms of the South American?
Yeah, for South America coming in, is it IT? Is it sort of other sectors like engineering, marketing? What are the core sectors you think that the students are interested in here in Australia?
Well, we definitely have a lot of engineers in Colombia.
Yeah,
we are actually engineers.
Really? Okay.
Both,
both of us.
And we used to work in Colombia in a multinational company.
Yeah.
So I used to do some of logistics and supply chain, and I used to
finance.
do as well finance and
production as well. So actually, so many. I think one of our Latin Americans' strength is engineering. So we have like a well-prepared engineers over there. So yeah, I think because Australia needs actually people specialized in engineering. So this is one of the industry that is gonna grow next year with all people coming over here because they have different backgrounds, academic backgrounds. Engineers is one of the highest ones.
And I can say also that there is this interesting phenomenon happening that you in Australia can reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of professionals taking another path in Australia, like they become chefs, they become carpenters, they become they open their own businesses as well. So we see a little bit of change as well. A lot of people going to marketing. So right now we are engineers and we're doing marketing.
Yeah, no, it's great.
That's a beauty of Australia as well.
Yeah, and we've had some great interns in my own business from South America, and they're great work ethic, really fun, great guys and girls to work with. So I can see both of your energy and passion. It's always great to work with South Americans because they bring a lot of passion to the businesses, which is great.
Thanks. Yeah.
So talking about again this episode, South America and Australian opportunities, there's those great opportunities for students to come in. From an out, Australia's going out, what do you see the opportunities for Australian companies looking back to South America, especially maybe employing and working with some of the students who have come here and then leveraging them back into export opportunities or other trade opportunities?
Well, you see, we have a lot of tech happening in Colombia.
Yeah.
So, and it's not as expensive as if you pay here in Australia. So I believe we are an example of that. Because we are a new company, when you're a startup, you can't afford paying huge amount of money for some jobs that you need to be done. So you start looking at different options. So I believe that for companies, even Australian startups, they can have a look at all the engineers in the tech side that we have in Colombia and start exploring that part of our industry. I believe we have really good engineers there that can definitely fulfill the needs of the Australian market.
Yeah, and also like people coming here and companies here like hiring students from Latin America, students or people who want to come to Australia, they're usually well prepared, like with an amazing background, work experience, amazing knowledge. So it's gonna help the companies or like the business or industries here to grow, So, like in Latin America is places where the economy is growing, So a lot of investments over there, but also like so well prepared people to who wants desires to come to countries such as Australia to develop their professionals profiles as well.
I've seen a lot of relationships being developed between Australia and Colombia in the last few years. I've seen Australians bringing coffee from Colombia to Australia. I've seen Australians making businesses with Colombian people in the finance sector. I've seen tech happening, I've seen people making alliances between these countries to work together. So we have a lot of people that work in mines in Colombia. So there are a lot of things happening around that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. No, look, it's been great to have you both on the show. The whole education sector between South America and Australia is growing. And I know that your company is doing a great job. Congratulations to you both. And I know once we get past this hurdle with this, with the COVID situation, you guys will continue going from strength to strength, helping all those South American students find their way, to succeed here in Australia. So congratulations, both of you.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the time and for having us. This is very interesting, actually, thing that we're doing. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you've just heard from Johan Burnell and Juan Oviedo from Grow Study Australia. Great guys who have set up a really great business to help South American students really succeed here in the Australian market. So check out Grow Study Australia. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. South America as a region has got so many fantastic opportunities for Australian companies and Australian individuals. So thanks so much for watching. Stick around. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week on another episode of Trade Australia. Take care. Bye.